Hello everyone, it was round 3 of the candidates tournament today, and Ding Liren was playing Fabio Caruana today. Now Ding has lost the first 2 games and he was up against the highest rated player in Fabio Caruana, who I believe was on 1.5 out of 2. So if you're on 0 out of 2, I think Fabio Caruana is the worst opponent that you could possibly face. If you lose this game, you're on 0 out of 3 and frankly your tournament's pretty much over. So Ding had a big task ahead of him. In this game he was playing with the white pieces and Fabio Caruana was playing with black. So Ding began with 1d4, Caruana played d5, and after c4, c6, white develops with knight to f3, black develops their knight to f6, there was knight to c3 and black took on c4. Now there are 2 main moves here. White can either play a4 or e4. If e4, we get into some positions where black can play b5 to support their c4 pawn, and things get a bit messy after e5, knight d5, and then white can play a4. But after e6 takes and knight takes c3, the pawn can recapture the knight. And after c takes b5, I think things actually slightly favour black. After knight g5, bishop b7, this is the main move, queen h5, trying to threaten mate on f7. But after moves like g6, queen g4 and bishop e7 for black, bishop e2, and black can play this move, bishop to d5. And if white counters with bishop to f3, we're in quite a balanced position where both sides have sort of blocked up the centre. However, black might have a slight edge here due to the fact they've got an extra pawn. So I think for this reason, Ding decided to play the main move a4 instead. It just limits black from playing b5 to support this c4 pawn. Caruana hits in with bishop to f5, so stops white from playing e4. And again, white's got 2 main moves here. They can play e3 straight away here and try and recapture this pawn on c4, because if after e6, black lets them take the pawn on c4, so it's equal material once again. Black just goes bishop b4. After both sides castle, queen e2 and knight b to d7. White can play e4, but after bishop g6, again we've got quite an even position, and both sides are pretty much in this game. But Ding did it slightly differently. He played knight to e5 straight away, so we'll want to recapture this pawn with the knight instead. e6 was played by black, and Ding played another main move, f3, preparing the e4 push in the centre, gaining some space. Bishop b4 was played, and Ding actually took the pawn with knight takes c4. There's actually an interesting variation here if white goes e4 though. So black can just take it with bishop takes e4. After the pawn takes, there's knight takes e4. So black's just given up a bishop for 2 pawns with some great counterplay, attacking this knight on c3. White can go bishop to d2, and then there's queen takes d4 though. And all of a sudden black's got 3 pawns for the piece and has great attacking chances. Now the best move for white here is to take the knight on e4. Queen takes e4 with check, queen e2, bishop takes d2, king takes, queen d5 and then king c2, knight a6 and knight takes c4. So white's got an extra bishop, but black's got 3 pawns, and this is very hard to decipher who's winning. It's not so easy for white to convert this game, I would imagine. So to avoid that line anyway, Ding just took the pawn on c4, knight takes c4 was played. So it makes sense that Ding just tries to get into a sensible position, avoiding all these complex lines. Black castle kingside, and then there was king f2 to get their king into some safety off this bishop b4 diagonal, and could unleash the c3 knight now. Now I checked Fabio Caruana's next move though. I think this is a novelty because he played a very rare move, e5. No one seems to have played this at all yet, at least in my chess-based database. I'm sure they've probably played it somewhere else. But it's a very interesting move. I think the point is if white takes this with the pawn, d takes e5, then knight f to d7 just leads to complete equality. After e4, black can just play bishop to e6, and if bishop to e3, let's say here, then just knight to a6, g3, f6, takes, and again we're into an even position for both sides. Black's actually a pawn down in this position, but has great counterplay along the f-file with this queen and rook battery eyeing up the king. So maybe this is what Caruana probably wanted out of the game. After this bishop e6 as well, white could play g3 in this position, and then after queen c7, attacking this pawn, this queen c2, takes, f4, queen c5 check. Again, this is considered equal for both sides, equal material, and black's very much in this game. So this is exactly what Caruana probably would have wanted out of the game. However, Ding played the best move, which was knight takes e5 rather than pawn takes. But I'm sure Caruana studied this with an engine or some other players anyway, because he played a nice move, bishop to c2. The point is, after queen takes c2, there's a cheapo with queen takes d4 check, e3, and black will hoover up the knight on e5. After g3, there's knight to bd7, e4, rook to d8, and after white develops some more, there's a c5 check, king g2, queen e7. Again, we're into a very nice position for both sides. You probably would actually favour black in this position. The king on g2 looks fairly open to and susceptible to an attack in the endgame anyway. So Ding didn't take this bishop, he avoided it, queen to d2 instead. And Caruana played c5. Now taking this pawn would be disastrous because then black's going to take with check, and there'll be a trade of queens most likely, and again black will be very much in the game. So Ding played d5. So even though Ding's sort of in the wilderness here, doesn't really know what's going on because Fabio's prepared this quite well, he's got to pass d-pawn, and this could prove very vital in the middle game. Black continued with bishop to b3, so attacking this pawn 3 times, and the knight on c3 is also pinned. So e4 is the most logical move, and look at this delicious pawn chain in the centre now for Ding, with all these pawns supporting this strong d5 pawn. And if I was black now, and if I was Fabio Caruana, I'd be thinking that I've gone wrong here somewhere, because this looks very nice setup for white to be in. Rook e8 attacking the knight, queen f4 to defend, and c4 for black. Now this is a bit of a trap, I think, because I think if you take with the bishop, then bishop d6 looks very juicy for black. It pins the knight on e5, the bishop's attacking c4, and this queen b6 idea was with check here. So I think Ding did the right thing again. He just avoided the complications, played it simple, just played knight takes c4 instead. And now it looks as though white's just 2 pawns up in the centre. They've got this nice d pawn and this nice e pawn ready to roll and steamroll down the board. Caruana played knight to d7. Ding played bishop to e3, just shoring up his position, stopping any queen b6 check ideas. Caruana moved his knight to f8, going to reroute it probably to g6. And Ding just played bishop to d4. And has a nice position. All his pieces are in the centre, going to try and attack this f6 knight. He could potentially take it and double black's pawns. I don't think he wants to do that just yet though. Now I ran this through with Stockfish 10, and it said basically that black's last chance that I looked at would be rook c8 here, attacking the c4 knight. Now of course white can just opt in for bishop takes f6 here with pawn takes, and then just play knight to e3, knight to g6, queen h6, bishop f8, and then just queen h3, and white's still probably winning this position. But after rook c8, if white tries maybe to play knight to e3 here, but maybe black's got a chance, because he can play knight to g6, attacking the queen. After queen f5, black can play bishop to c5. And if takes, then again, black's got some counterplay coming. The best move given here was actually rook a3, to attack the bishop on b3. And after bishop to c2, knight takes c2, there's rook e5 ideas, attacking the queen on f5. And white's got to be somewhat careful. Now actually Stockfish gives queen takes e5 as the best move here. After knight takes, rook b3, rook c8. With another evaluation, it said it's better, slightly better for black here. I don't really believe this. Basically the lowdown is that black's got a queen, but white has a bishop and a rook for the queen, with an extra 2 pawns as well. So technically I suppose they're a pawn down. But going back to this rook e5, if queen h3, then black can play ideas like queen b6, and at least they've got some sort of attack coming. If king to e1, queen takes b2, king d2, then black can go in for knight takes d5, pawn takes, and rook takes d5. The point is the knight can't take this rook, because then queen takes c2 will be played here. So bishop d3 to block, but then rook takes d3, king takes d3, knight to f4 with check, forking the king and the queen. So after king d2, knight takes queen, white should play rook b1 in this position, but then rook d5, takes, g takes, and then queen to f1. And we're getting to a endgame where black's got a queen for 2 knights and a rook. Also black does have an extra pawn. But I think maybe if it was possible, Caruana should have gone in for this sort of position. At least black had some sort of counter-attacking chances. So sorry for the long variation, that all stemmed from that rook c8 move that I just showed you. But in the game, Caruana just played knight to g6. I think this is still good. It attacks the queen anyway. But Ding can just sidestep now. Queen to f5. Caruana took the knight off on c4. Ding recaptured, and then there was queen c7. Attacking the bishop on c4. And Ding just retreats back to e2. And again, white's got a very nice solid position. Caruana continued bishop c5. Ding took the bishop. Black recaptured with check. And white just put the king on f1, and it's still quite safe here. Now, there was an interesting variation once again with this rook e5 idea here. After queen h3, at least black's doing something to attack. I'm surprised Caruana didn't play this way. Knight to f4, queen g3, and knight to h5. I think white's still winning after queen f2 though. But at least black's doing some sort of attacking. Queen b4, at least trying to mix things up and complicate things. Even after rook e1, queen takes b2. Queen d4 is given as the best move. But after rook a8, at least black's actually got some activity going here. So it's easy. It could be easy for white to make a mistake. You just never know. So here Stockfish gauge knight b5 is the best move. And after a trade of queens, there's knight takes e2, rook takes e2, knight to f4, rook b2, and knight takes d5. But after rook takes b7, white is still better. They're a clear pawn up. But again, maybe Caruana should have gone in for this. And this all stemmed from rook e5 here. So maybe he should have gone in for rook e5. At least he had some counter-attacking chances. I think he played it too safe here though, h6. And I think white's just going to steamroll black now. And this is kind of what Ding does. He just plays rook d1, gets his rook behind the pawn. Caruana played queen to b6, attacking b2. Ding defends it though. Queen e3 was played. Rook c2 though, just sidesteps it. h6. Stopping any knight b5 ideas by Caruana. But Ding just plays solid. Queen h3 is going to play queen to g3, followed by queen to f2 to try and get on the dark squares and stop black's queen from infiltrating the position. Caruana continued with b5. White gets on with their idea of queen g3. b4, hit the knight, but then just comes knight to d1. Queen to b3, attacking the rook. Ding played rook d2. Queen takes a4, so Caruana wins a pawn back, but it's probably too little too late now. Queen f2, so white gets what they wanted. And after queen d7, just g3, stops any knight to f4 or knight to h4 ideas. And queen h3 check by Caruana. It is possible for white just play queen g2 it and trade queens. And if a5, just play knight to e3. And again, these pawns are just going to stomp down the board, and there's nothing black can do to stop them. But yeah, here Ding just played king to g1, still a good move. a5 was played, and then queen to d4. And all of a sudden, there's a battery behind this pawn. It's going to go down the board, very simple. I think white's just taking some time to organise the pieces. Knight h5, knight to f2, attacking the queen, which goes back to d7, and then just f4. And to be honest, I think anyone who's 1900 plus could be able to beat black from this position here, because it's just so good. The bishop's hitting the knight, and these three pawns are just going to steamroll black. Very easy to win. If black plays it safe here with knight to f6, again we just see the steamroll e5, attacking this knight. The knight jumps into h7, there's king g2. Knight f8 and there's rook c1, opening the file. Queen a7 and just queen e4. And yeah, we can play moves like bishop c4 perhaps, b3. And yeah, just play f5, e6, d6. So to be fair to Caruana though, he didn't just sit back and play knight to f6. He sacrificed one of his knights. Knight takes f4, g takes f4, and knight takes f4. So okay, he's got two pawns for the knight. He had to do something. But again, you feel like white's still winning this position. Ding just played king f1. Just prepares rook to g1 and then start attacking this side of the board instead. Caruana played queen to d6. Ding played rook g1, attacking g7. f6 was played to block. And Ding just played bishop b5, hitting this rook. Caruana moved it, and then Ding played b3, stopping any a4 ideas, just locking everything down. And now White's got ideas of maybe knight g4, where they can sort of try to take this h6 pawn, and maybe prepare this push of e5 at some point as well. Or maybe just even play rook c2 and rook c6 should be White's idea to get the queen off this d6 square. So Caruana continued with rook f8, so Ding goes in for rook c2, prepares rook c6, going to try and kick this queen away from d6. Knight to e6 though. Okay, so Caruana is fighting back. The pawn on d5 is pinned by the queen, and the knight attacks the queen, so he retreats it. Knight g5. So okay, Caruana's managed to block the g file, but maybe it's too little too late. h4 was played to kick the knight away. He's forced back to f7. Luckily this knight also protects h6. So maybe Caruana thought he could build some sort of fortress here by playing maybe knight to e5, but I doubt it was that strong because this knight on f2 could just probably dislodge it with maybe knight to d3 or knight to g4. Carrying on though, Ding played rook c6 in this position, attacking the queen. And I should just note that queen takes d5 doesn't actually work here. Even though the pawn is pinned, White has ideas like rook takes g7. If the king takes it, then there's queen g3 check, and White will pick up the queen on d5 and move later. And if king h8 after rook takes g7, then rook b6 is just fine for White. And even after rook takes e4, there's queen g3 to support the rook on g7. And White still has a fabulous position. So in the game then, queen b8 was played here, attacking the bishop on b5. Queen c5 though, attacking the rook, protecting the bishop. Queen d8 to protect the rook, and rook takes f6. So the g pawn is pinned. White just grabs another pawn very quickly. King h8 though, rook f5. And now White's got two passed pawns in the centre of the board. Rook c7 from Caruana, but then just bishop c6. And I think here maybe Caruana could just resign the game, but he carried on. He played a4. White took the pawn. There was b3. Rook g3, b2, rook b3, and knight to d6. Attacking the rook. There was a trade. Ding took the pawn off. Queen f4. And just rook b8 check. The king moves, and queen c2. Threatening e5 ideas with check. Rook e7, e5 check. Knight to f5. Queen e4, offering a trade of queens. Caruana checked though. King g2. g6, and rook to b3. And here finally Caruana did actually resign the game. Yeah, the rook b3 was a nice move actually, just stops any checks and moving the queen to the third rank for black. And basically d6 is coming, or e6 is coming, supported by this bishop on c6. Also White's got a passed a pawn as well, so it's probably just game over straight away. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed my short analysis of this game. This was a great game by Ding. Caruana surprised Ding in the opening, but he just fought back and just played it move by move and slowly increased his positional advantage. A great game by White. And it looks as though Caruana's preparation went wrong somewhere because this doesn't look very right to me. But anyway, it's good to see that Ding's back in the tournament and he's got his first point. But anyway, if you did enjoy this analysis, please like and subscribe to the channel, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow for another candidates video. See you later.